am Miles Lowroad, the host of Valhalla Gameplays, one of the most controversial and amazing modding communities out there. If you don't know who we are the custodians of classic first-person shooters, most notably Doom 2. And yeah, we believe in freedom of speech and freedom of thought, and it's turning out that these days this is something that is a waning idea. But we'll get on with that in a little bit. I'm coming to you today because I was informed recently that my YouTube channel is dying. Or dead. It has been 3 months since I've released a video, and a lot has happened since then. So thank you, Kappa 007, for bringing it to my attention that 3 months is kind of a long time. First of all, I want to say this is the first in a segment that I'd like to put out there called MAD RANTS. A lot of times in chat, I end up getting on the soapbox and going out and speaking my mind about things, and people are like, "Well, man, that should have been recorded and stuff," you know? So I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start putting my voice out there and having my thoughts heard. But I feel that my thoughts are the culmination of the community that I take part in, that I choose to culminate. Also, I want to say thank you to everybody who shared the video of my dad, for my dad rather. He has found a kidney, and he's doing good. It's been about 3 months. He has the kidney in his body. He hasn't had any problems with rejection or anything like that, or overabundance of white blood cells. He's doing really good. He's getting his life back. I feel sorry for my mom because now she has to deal with his bullshit. But such is life. They're doing great, and and I want to say thank you to all of you. I don't take things like this lightly. I feel that when we have a group of people who come together with their thoughts and prayers, that beyond what you might believe, these thoughts and prayers connect to a network of energy or vibration that actually creates change in our world. So if anyone tells you that prayer doesn't do anything, they're full of shit. Just your very thought is so powerful. Please keep that in mind. I pose the question, what is the difference between thought and reality? If you close your eyes right now and imagine a beautiful yellow rose out in the desert, the wind blowing and it moving, sand, the sun, there is no difference between the thought you just had and actually experiencing it. The mind sees no difference. So this is a staunch allegory to things that are happening today. I'm coming to you today because I see a lot of things going on nationally that really disturb me. When I was growing up, I considered myself very liberal, and I lived to the precepts of the man known as Martin Luther King Jr. I'm not white by any means, and I've dealt with my fair share of discrimination growing up in a very backwoods area in Florida, where ignorance and intolerance have been known to breed. Do I say woe is me? No. It created my character. It created the content of my heart and the way that I interact with people. It didn't make me say I hate white people. That is the furthest from what I believe. I feel that identity politics is the new racism, where we are creating these segments of society and categorizing and separating based on race, religion, creed, color. That's racist. Martin Luther King said, judge not based on the color of your skin, but by the content of your character. I'm bastardizing that a little bit, but that to me is where it's at. I'm not going to look at a white person and say because he is white that he's evil. I'm not going to look at this person over here who voted for Trump and say, because you voted for Trump, you're evil. Why did this person vote for Trump? Maybe they wanted to see more jobs in the United States, Maybe they wanted to protect things like the United States of America. My parents were immigrants into this country. You know, they both came over from Puerto Rico, legally, right? And there is a staunch difference between illegally and legally. The one big difference that I see is that when you come over illegally, you miss out on the opportunity of assimilation. And one might say, oh, this is a bad thing. You got to keep your culture. You got to keep your ways of life. Sure, you can keep your culture and your ways of life, but how do you learn respect and love for a country that is as free as ours? I work with a woman at work who's Mexican, and when the whole Trump thing happened, I asked her how she felt about it, and like she said she didn't care, and the reason she didn't care is because she's not American. That to me exemplifies it right there. How can you say that? How can you be in this beautiful country where you have an amazing desk job? You're sitting in an air-conditioned building. You're driving a brand new car. You have all the food you could possibly want. Your family is fed. Your family is taken care of. But I'm not American. I hate this country. That sentiment really irks me. Right now, I'm recording this video on a phone that I got off of credit. I paid for that credit so that I could boost my credit score. It's in a nice, lovely, yellow hard case, and I can take this magical device and be anywhere, in the United States, and get information about virtually anything. It's amazing. I can open my refrigerator right now, and I can make a myriad of different meals based on the food that I have stocked in there. I have electricity. I have an air conditioner. I have running water. Amazing, right? And when I go outside, I feel relatively safe that I'm not going to die. I have a truck sitting in the parking lot that's full of gas, and I have the opportunity to drive anywhere. I can go out into the mountains and hang out. These things are taken for granted in our society now, whereas the idea of being emotionally invested in an ideal is more important than the privileges that we're allotted. And it seems that a lot of people are willing to throw away these privileges based on what they feel is quote-unquote right. But what happened to the idea of freedom? I don't think freedom is something that is easy or, it's not something that's readily understood. And when you blatantly throw away such freedoms, what happens is everyone is affected by that, based on emotions. Some people say take money out of politics, which I agree. But I say go one step further. Let's take emotion out of politics, and let's start looking at things logically. And I don't blame the left, or the right on this. I think that these extremes are the issue. You look at the extreme right, and they're like, well, only white is right, and the peasant cultures need to go, and we need to go back to the ways of 1776, and understand that we are what created the freedoms that you have now. Then you have on the right. All these minorities were downtrodden throughout history, so we are guilty, and we need to give back to them. Also, there's all these up-and-coming smaller minorities that we have to coddle and make sure that they're not hurt. We have to create safe spaces so that people's feelings aren't hurt. And if we don't do that, we're going to fight to the death to make sure that happens. And then you have people like me in the middle that are like, I want to be able to keep these privileges that we have and these freedoms that we have and be able to continue on with our lives and to be able to grow economically. I want to be able to come upward, That it brings me to an interesting thought, right? Like, my family are immigrants here to the United States. They came from Puerto Rico. My father's side was brought over by the steel mill. My grandfather on my dad's side was brought over by the steel mill. They provided housing. They were provided, stipends to get settled into that area. Same thing with my mom. My grandfather on my mom's side was brought over by Ford Motor Company. Again, housing, stipends, and the biggest thing that they all received was assimilation. They came through the right channels and they were taught what America is and what we represent and became a part of the society. If we bring people over that hate America and hate what we stand for, this internally destroys what the West is all about. And what is the West all about? The West is about the idea that we are all equal, we are all individuals, and we all have the opportunities afforded to us to become amazing individuals, or whatever we want. I see that in my life every day. It's beautiful. But I also see people that are willing to give up these privileges for the idea that it's not right. To me, welfare is not right, and handouts are not right, So it's these generations that are brainwashed into thinking we were put down by the man. Now we are forced to live in these ghettos. We have to sign up for welfare, and this is the only way to live. What eventually happens is it breeds this culture of I'm sitting here, I'm not doing anything all day, I'm watching TV, and I'm plugged in. I'm on disability because I'm 400 pounds and I haven't exercised in years. I have 7 kids and I collect taxes off of them, which I can live for the year. I buy all this processed food that just feeds into this this state of disease that I'm in, and then what does that do to the kids? The kids see that same thing. They feed into the same systems. They eat the same food, and they follow the same way of life. And that happens for generations and generations and generations until this underlying poor can never come up because they don't know any other way. And schools don't teach, financial literacy. They don't teach you what the future is about. I understand things. My dad and his generation are probably going to be the last people to ever collect Social Security. The Social Security money that I pay in right now is basically just the last of which the baby boomers will be using until eventually their generation passes away. I'm not saying, woe is me, government, you need to come up with something, give me money. I have to depend on you, government. Instead, I'm thinking, okay, what do I have to do? What kind of money do I have to save? I have to invest in annuities. I'm going to have to think about what property I have. I'm going to have to find a job that has a 401k. These things that will set me up for the future, that will create interest, that by the time, I retire at 60, 67, I do have $1 million in the bank, and it's oh, okay, cool. Now I can sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of my years, as it should be. But that doesn't happen automatically. That doesn't happen without a little bit of elbow grease. You got to put in some effort. You got to put in some research and figure out how to keep yourself strong for not just now, but for the future. These efforts of going out in the street and breaking down, small businesses and big businesses alike, and screaming and yelling, this doesn't do anything. This instead separates ourselves from a class of people who do actually see what's going on. It creates a larger separation between those who understand what finance and the economy is, and who care more about identity politics. It's a separation. Abraham Lincoln would say, united we stand, divided we fall. We can find a common ground. We may not agree on certain things, but we have to come to a consensus. If we don't come to a consensus, then yes, we will be divided, and those of us who are not strong enough to stand in true martial law, true government violence, will die. This is just small potatoes compared to what could be. And furthermore, you want to yell and scream about your rights and your pronouns and your ability to be identified properly, but do you own a gun? Do you know what it means to own a gun? Do you know why it's written into the Constitution that we have the right to bear arms? And I'll tell you what, it's not for hunting. It's to stand up against a corrupt government that wishes to crush its population. Yet we want to give it away. And there's people who would come in and gain weapons, whether or not the Constitution allows it or not, to further take away our freedoms, to push an agenda that is not conducive to the Western way of life. Please consider this. There is a difference between a hand out and a hand up. A hand up is when someone says, I'm going to loan you this money, and I want you to do this with it, and this will put you in this position. And if you follow my simple instructions, you could come to this level as well. And you could surpass where I'm at. A handout is, here's the bare minimum of what you need to live. No one gives a shit what you do with it, but just exist in your state. Why would I want to continue that? Why would I want the government to continue that? Why would I want people to remain in this haze where they don't have confidence in themselves? And I leave you with this message. Be confident. Stay strong. Believe in yourself. Even if you have mental or physical things that are holding you back, get up in the morning and look at your hands and say, wow, this is such a gift. What can I do today to make it even better? You know? You gotta love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And there's nothing wrong with making this strong in order to be strong for others. There's nothing wrong with that. Do unto others as we would that others do unto us. I love you guys so much. And I hope you come back for some more rants. I'm going to cut this one a little bit short. Today is Memorial Day. I'm going to be hanging out with my buddy Dantos. We're going to be putting out some videos, recording a little bit of D for T with the starter pack, Sergeant Mark starter pack. And, having a little bit of fun today. I rarely have a day off. I work 7 days a week. I have this vision that one day I will have enough money to create a community in which I can invite people on and we can sustain and live together. I really believe in community. I don't believe in communism, but I believe in what the individual can bring to a community. And I believe in harnessing that energy towards something bigger and better, something that is beyond us. So God bless all you guys. I love you. Stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you next time.